Now, a look at those who are saving early and living frugally in order to retire young. Our economics correspondent Paul Solman has the story. It's part of our weekly series, Making Sense, which airs every Thursday.
Pete Adeney almost always leaves his Longmont, Colorado home on 2 wheels instead of 4. It's a lot cheaper. For 7 years, Pete, a.k.a. Mr. Money Mustache, has been preaching parsimony on his popular blog. And he sure practices what he preaches.
How much do you spend a year?
We don't budget, but it seems to always end up around $25,000 to $27,000 per year for the family of 3.
Plus health insurance in the low 30s. Adeney and his followers, known as Mustachians, are key players in the FIRE, or FIRE movement. Financial independence, retire early. We do mean early. Adeney and his wife left their engineering jobs in 2005.
So we were 30 at the time.
Mark and Sina Ebersole no longer have to work either.
How old are you?
37.
35.
Michael and Ellen Robinson, both 38, stopped working full-time 2 years ago.
I had this concept that saving as much as we could, as early as we could, would allow compounded interest more time to do the work.
How do they all do it? Adeney saved 50 to 75% of his income over 9 years as an engineer.
We just did a little bit less than most people of our income level, and that was enough to save it. The U.S. tradition is to spend pretty much everything we earn. We only have like a 3% savings rate. You just don't do that, and you always have a choice.
How much did you wind up saving?
Today would be about 1.1 million or a little bit less. That was what we decided was enough to live on forever.
On his blog, Adeney espouses the so-called 4% rule. If you salt away and invest in stocks 25 times your annual spending, you can then withdraw 4% of your savings each year of retirement. But isn't the market risky?
Put the money in the broad economy through index funds where you own thousands of companies, very conservative, and it's going to fluctuate just because the stock market fluctuates. But if you're just taking a small amount each year, you don't care at all about that. Like a stock market crashes, you're still taking your little 4%. The stock market goes up, you're still only taking 4%. So that averages out over time.
Don't spend money on things you don't actually need, he says. And don't drive so much.
That's my biggest winning secret to a wealthy life, is just get out of the car a little bit. Driving is way, way more expensive than what most people think. Most people think about gasoline as their cost of driving. Really, it's about 5 times higher than that. So pretend gas is 15 bucks a gallon, then you're starting to get an estimate of how expensive driving really is.
Due to depreciation, maintenance, insurance. Adeney also saves so much because he's a do-it-yourselfer. Take his house.
The one that we live in now, I built almost entirely from scratch.
So you put in your own plumbing?
Yeah.
You did your own flooring?
Yeah, that's part of a house.
You did your own electricity?
I would do my own heart surgery if it was safe.
Last year, Adeney renovated a dilapidated building on Longmont's main street to create a co-working space for fellow Mustachians. And he added what he calls a tiny house conference room.
It was just $3,000 in materials, partially from Craigslist, and then we get a dedicated office that's year-round, insulated.
On top of the tiny house, nourishment that costs even less.
I'm not an apple expert, but I just call these delicious free apples. So,
Delicious free.
So cheers.
Cheers.
So one of the ways we save money is by only shopping at thrift stores.
Adeney has acolytes aplenty. 38-year-old retired teacher Ellen Robinson's trick? Don't buy anything new.
This is from the Loft, and you can buy that for closer to $8 instead of buying it for $50.
As for the furniture in the home Ellen shares with husband Michael and their 2 young children,
Pretty much all hand-me-downs. The couch was a hand-me-down from my grandparents. These pieces of furniture right here were hand-me-downs when the office that Michael worked in had to downsize. The lamp, a friend from my work gave that to me.
coffee table.
This was actually something I bought at a resale shop.
By now, it will not surprise you that the family car is also secondhand.
We bought this 2007 Prius used for $8,000 about 4 years ago. And it's pushing about 195,000 miles, but it still works just fine for our family.
One common feature of the FIRE movement, credit cards
then
used
we have an
strategically.
So we get 6% on groceries if we use this card, so 6% back, 3% on gas, and 3% on department stores.
Michael, a former salesman who still enjoys putting in 1 to 2 days a week as a consultant, says the family could spend less than the $44,500 they spent last year.
There's some cushion in our budget. We're not down to the bone right now by any means.
Do you feel at all deprived?
No, I do not feel deprived. Do you feel deprived?
No, we don't, yeah.
I am not above the temptation. If I walk into the mall, I am just as drawn to all those things as anybody else. But I just have a dialogue in my head about the decision to very intentionally not buy those things, and also just very intentionally not going to the mall.
Restaurant visits are rare. Instead, the retired Robinsons spend their ample free time cooking and eating at home with their kids. But wait a second. Aren't there many Americans who simply don't earn enough to save anything, let alone the amounts Pete Adeney promotes?
I'm sure there are, but I also would say that almost everybody can do better, and the lower your income level, the greater the benefit is of figuring out where your money's going. So the median income is $60,000 or whatever in the US for a household. And what's the best-selling vehicle? A $30,000+ F-150 pickup truck. That's the problem. We all scale everything up just a bit more than we can afford.
But clearly not everyone can do what Adeney has done. Even in retirement, he has earned enough from his blog that he doesn't need to stick to his $25,000 a year budget. But he does. Because he argues cutting consumption isn't just about saving money.
I would say it's immoral to drive like a 6-wheel diesel pickup truck compared to riding a bike or just picking the most practical car for whatever your needs are.
Immoral because it's polluting the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's because of your effect on other people and other living things. So like you're going to consume a lot more metal and a lot more fossil fuels just to carry your tiny self around.
He said, I've been speaking to a friend about your business.
Adeney does have followers who can't afford to stash away at Mustachian levels. Michelle Jackson turned out for a pop-up business school held at Mr. Mustache's co-working space to learn how to earn more so she could save more and retire early-ish.
There are many people who would like to attain that, but maybe they have to pay off debt first in order to get to the point to invest and focus on those kinds of things.
How much do you owe right now?
The amount that I'm focused on now, minus the student loans, is about $11,000.
And even for debt-free higher earners like Mark and Sina Ebersol, becoming financially independent began as a heavy lift.
It was pretty hard at the beginning for me, paring it down and saving. That was a very foreign concept for me.
Did you like it?
No. It felt a little bit like, are we wasting away our good years?
10 years later, the former dance instructor is grateful that she and Mark, an engineer, work only when they want to.
We're working on opening a ballroom dance hall.
It's kind of like a ballroom dance studio, but more social focused.
Ellen Robinson relishes the reward of scrimping that drives the fire men and women seeking financial independence.
It's not necessarily about not working, but it's the freedom that comes with not having to work. Right now, my kids are 4 and 2, and I'm home with them all day, every day, and not worrying about whether or not we can buy our groceries.
As for Mr. Money Mustache himself,
The goal is just to live a happy existence and maybe leave the world better than when you started. So I've done small businesses like carpentry, and a lot of dad work has been my biggest occupation, a bit of writing, some music. So I still have, if I'm lucky, another 55 years of retirement to go, and I'll let you know how that turns out.
And for as long as I can, I'll be all ears. This is economics correspondent Paul Solman at Mr. Money Mustache headquarters in Longmont, Colorado.